Hey guys, what's going on? So we are here on Tuesday, and it's looking phenomenal today. So we basically are looking at the DXY at the moment, and the DXY is looking somewhat pretty good for this correction to the upside. Looking at it on the daily, we can see that we're still in that sort of accumulation stage where if we can accumulate enough money in this area, then we can get a solid push to the high, which is very probable at this point. I think looking at how price is, I wouldn't worry too much about this trend line. However, I'll keep it on for just a bit of reference at the moment, but more so, I would be more so inclined to just see how this develops. It's very much possible that now at this stage we could be looking at something like a pattern which is called a pennant. So we could be looking at some version of a pennant to the upside, which is somewhat more probable at this point. I wouldn't be inclined to be taking a trade on the bottom of this pennant, just unless you protect yourself well. But at this point in time, it does look like perhaps maybe we could tap into, some sort of area here and then go, which is a possibility. I think with a little bit more refinement, we can see if there's a squeeze there. We might be able to tap this on over here and say that there's the possibility that this can correct, tap into this, and then we go. I wouldn't personally be taking that trade, really and truly. I'd be looking for something a little bit more cleaner, but more so just looking for that commitment to the upside, which is the most important part. So just range that in, and price can just sit in here for however long it wants, but then eventually we should be looking to position ourselves closer to this low and then mitigate our risk, and then potentially take it to the upside to one of these inflection points or much further, which would be very nice. So that's basically how I'm looking at the DXY at the moment. I think it's very plain and simple that we are in this accumulation stage. It can turn around very quickly, so I think keep a very good eye on the DXY, but always bear in mind that there is the possibility that this can sell off as well. So even though that we are correcting over here, there's the possibility that we can drop off and come and retest this low before we go high. So I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket, but definitely right now it's looking like we are in the ICC, impulse correction continuation stage, so keep that in key mind. Moving over to our watch list, we can see that Euro Aussie is still in somewhat of this corrective sort of squeeze lower. I think this can turn around very quickly, so it is one that I think personally is worth opting in for to basically have on watch. But I think it's very optional, because you have to understand that it's more of a soft watch at this point, which basically means that it's on watch, but there's a very, let's say, a 50-50 chance that it can come up here. But the odds are, if it does come up here, it might be ready for tomorrow, but you're synchronized with the market well enough. But we could get some aggressive momentum, is which I'm pointing at, to the upside, and then we start dropping off, and then people are wondering, oh, okay, that's a bit crazy, like are we going back up, are we not? So these are the sort of variations, but also bear in mind the larger flag we forecasted as well. But I think at this point in time, just keep that in mind, because if we go to the lower time frame, we can see here that even on the 15-minute chart, it doesn't look like your typical progression to the upside at this point. However, we do have this going on here, and however you want to kind of draw on the middle section is there, but more so we have this middle section to this pattern, which is very interesting. And then at the same time we have this sort of push up, this corrective squeeze over here, and then I think we could just potentially just drop off a little bit and then push up. There's a few variations there, but like I said, it's one that you could definitely keep on watch. For myself, it will be on soft watch, so like I said, I don't need to put it on my main watch list, because I've got my alert set, so when price gets there, I'll get alerted and then I can do it. But I may just check it in the afternoon, see how this is progressing, and if we are up here somewhere, then I can evaluate it. I think the more time ticks, we can now see this as more of a significant point, so price can correct, tap into this, and then sell off as well. Just keep that in mind as well, that this is an inflection point that we can just override and go off by. But more so, this is the override that I will be eyeing up, and then we have this point here. So despite this, we do have that larger pattern as well on top of it, so don't just get fixated on any bit of current price action. Just bear in mind that something larger can always play, but at the same time. We might get something within here that might give us a movement from here to here, and then we basically got a very nice play. But the nice trade is probably here and then on that line up here. So we'll have to wait and see how that develops. But Euro Aussie, I think it's just one to be a little bit more patient with, but it could shape up very sharply. Then I'll be moving on to GBP Aussie. GBP Aussie is somewhat off a very nice trade at this point. I think what I do like about this is, even though we haven't got that commitment to the downside yet, I think we're just about readying up for it now. So keep a good eye on this particular pair. Even though we've tapped into this low, this could still be enough for us to start gravitating higher. However, given the way that price is moving currently, I think we need to read between the lines, and this could near enough be ready very, very soon. I think this is more so what we should be eyeing up right now, and then we should evaluate this probably at the end of this hour, which is in a few minutes from now, and just kind of see how this plays. But because we're so close to this high, I wouldn't be surprised if we just kind of spike up, we tap into this and then potentially sell off. However, just keep in mind that this is enough right now for us to just go down. So this could be a very nice area to position yourself for a GA sell, but I don't think I want to be shorting the GA right now at this current moment in time. I'll probably opt in for a PDF, which is a push down on the flag. And then, yeah, essentially I'll just be going down there. So I'll opt in for a bit of a sell-off and then go in. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. It is what it is. But that's basically the gameplay. I'll be looking for GA. I'll keep that on watch today, just because it could shape up anytime very soon. The next one is GBP CAD. I do really like GBP CAD. I think it's phenomenal from here. It was really good. It wasn't a trade that I was willing to opt in for, even though we had the mini double top on the triple bottom. It just wasn't really for me, even though we had that mini double top within this mini double top. There is a lot of confluences there. I mean, honestly, a trade like this is 101 as well. It's just sometimes you opt in for them, sometimes you don't. In this case, I just was waiting for a little bit more, and perhaps maybe that's a lesson for myself. But even so, in terms of commitment, we've had a solid push. There was a trade in here as well, and probably one in here as well. So as we go closer and closer, there's more and more opportunity forming. I think if I was to get involved now, I would have to wait for something to pretty much kind of just really convince me to get involved in the market, and I don't really have that at the moment. So GC is a mistrade for me, but fortunately, the bigger trade will be coming shortly, so no problem at all with that. Moving on to the next one, which is CAD Yen. So I do currently have a position running on CAD Yen, which is very nice. So I did get involved in the area up here. It was more for 4-hour entry, and the trade was basically scaled in just above here for, I believe it was roughly just around about there, and it should be around about 3. Okay, so it's a little bit more tight than that. Yeah, it was roughly around about here, and that's the trade. And then I've pretty much got it locked in just above here, somewhere around about 1%. But even so, it's still a pretty good trade. It's running really well. I think it definitely has room for it to go, but it can still correct and get a little bit messier. We could see something like this form as well, to bear in mind. This is always a possibility that we should keep in mind, that even though we're in this very good area of value right now, we can still develop something a little bit further. So I think, we can really sell off from here, and it's a really good place to sell off, but just bear in mind that something else can develop at the top of these structures as well. So I'll definitely keep that on eye, but for sure, for now, we just keep it plain and simple. We've broken the line in the sand. So in terms of what we would do next, put that back on. In terms of what's next, so we can see that we tapped into that high, we pushed back down. This was during high spread hours, so really and truly a lot of people probably would not have entered here, but just after spreads weakened, you could have captured the entry right here, which would have been phenomenal. And then basically, yeah, we're down here now. So in terms of a next entry, in terms of a scale, in terms of getting involved for the first time, this is probably the area that I'll be looking at. And looking at how current price is, it's definitely potential that we will just literally have a good sell-off from here. So I'm waiting for something to tap into here and then just basically drop off. This would basically be the area that I would be entering on my position, and yeah, I could even probably squeeze it around about 15. yeah, about 15 pips. 10 pips probably would be very tight, so probably I'll add a little bit extra on them, just put 13 pips. I think 13 pips is more than enough. Take an entry here and go. Could probably even squeeze an entry in now, which is a bit premature, but you'd have to take a 20 pip stop loss, which I don't think is really worth it. But like I said, we do have this sort of mini flag within this flag right now. If we just kind of take that off and we slap this on here, you can basically look at it here and say, okay, we have this forming as its own little flag, but more so I think I'll be looking at this and then just eyeing that up to wait for a bit of structure there. So if we can get that, that's going to be phenomenal. That'll be a nice little extra trade there. I think that's the first trade that a lot of people will be taking as well, so it'll be really good. I think the trade up here is somewhat protected. I've got 1% locked in, so I'm happy with that. If it takes me out for the 1%, it is what it is. I'll just look for a future entry, but that's basically my CAD yen trade, so I'll leave that on red as well so I can have it on watch. And then GBP yen, I think GBP yen is not near ready. It's going to be ready soon, I think. And I've always seen this quite a lot, is Thursdays are good days for yen pairs, but we'll have to wait and see. Thursday, Friday, could be a today trade, could be a tomorrow trade, just waiting for price to literally make its way back up here. If price can get up here and then we can tap in and sell off, that's where I'm going to be getting involved in the market. We could get a little bit of an extension and then come down, it doesn't really matter, or we could just push and continue further. So stay neutral, but at the same time, there's a lot of context here to really say there's a good short coming up. So patience is key. Discipline to be making sure that you're waiting for it, and then this is basically your plan now. So you're planning to wait for price to get there. When price gets there, you know how to react. You're not going to be reactive, you're going to be proactive. The next one is Euro Japanese Yen. Now EJ was really one of my favorite trades for the week. I think in terms of that entry, it was a very strategic entry, and it always was. It's great that it's playing out very well. I think, you know, for me, it's a little bit of a mistrade as well. You know, I would have been happy to take it over here as well as the 10 pip or so forth. But at the end of the day, these trades are just one of many trades that you'll be taking. So keep in mind right now, if we are looking for something, this is the trade over here. So we have this taps into here, corrects. This could be enough to just push, but we could also see it come back down for a third touch and go. If we get that, that's going to be phenomenal. That will be a very nice quality trade. And yeah, so in terms of a good trade, that could be one in itself. We just have to be patient and wait and see. That would basically be what I would wait for on EJ. I wouldn't be taking a 2-touch anyway. I'd be waiting for this 3. So that's basically it for my watch list. I'll be moving on to the wildcards now. So with the wildcards, we basically have USD yen. USD yen is one which I think is going to be a phenomenal entry, but with the current price kind of trickling and squeezing like this, I'm not too convinced that we have enough momentum for us to move to the downside at this point. I think it just needs a little bit more time to develop, but we, you know, at this point, this sort of price action isn't the sort of price action that I wouldn't get involved in. I would definitely look for a entry. It's just, it's very difficult for me to just kind of, you know, pick and choose what I want to trade right now. Because there's so much opportunity going on, but I don't think I would squeeze an entry in here at all. I think I would have ideally wanted to get involved over there in this region here, and I missed that trade because I opted in for CAD yen. But at the same time, the way the DXY was, I didn't really want to just jump into that, and this would have been the trade really. But a 36 pip stop loss would be running about 1%, so I'd be locking in break even currently. Yeah, I'll be in break even and just be holding that, to be honest. So there isn't really much that I can really take opportunity on at the moment with USD yen. It's just, I can see the movement, I can see the play, I just need to wait for an entry in terms of structure. So it's not really one that I'm going to be putting on watch at this moment. I think it's just one that's just going to divert my attention when I could be even better focused on other things. Looking at Euro USD, this is one that I think I'm definitely going to put on watch today. I think more so than ever, if we can get this movement up here, just like GBP yen, there'll be a phenomenal short play on the table. So that's definitely one I'll be keeping on watch today for sure, because if we make it up to here, then I could potentially be looking for an entry in this region here to go short, and then the position is actually going to be very nice. So that would be a quality position to get involved in. The next one is Aussie US dollar. I think it's between Aussie US dollar and Aussie Swiss, but personally I would opt in for Aussie Swiss, but Aussie US dollar could definitely shape up to be very nice, as well as GBP CAD, so GBP yen and Euro US dollar. We basically have three similar setups here, so you know that it's also my go-to setups. So at the end of the day, I'll definitely wait for these to shape up. It could be very good. All I'm going to be doing is literally waiting for price to get here, and then I'll be looking for an entry to go short, and then hopefully we can take a short to this area here, and we'll see where we are from there. The next one is USD CAD. I think USD CAD is somewhat of a mistrade for me now. I think there is further development on what we could be looking at though, which is very nice. So we've evolved from where we were before previously, and now we're currently sitting in this sort of price here. I think there's definitely a potential for a short, but because we're in such a corrective price, I'm not going to entertain it at all. I'm just going to be very patient with my entry on this and just wait for the short play, as I said originally in my SMB. I think, you know, this sort of area here for a short play, it's not totally bad, to be honest. You could probably squeeze something like that in. Still, for me, it's not really worth a position at this point. I think USD CAD, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to wait for price to get somewhere down here. But if price does gravitate to this override zone here, then for sure I will look for potentially a short position to the low. But otherwise, I'll just let it run its course. And then when we get to that low, I'll evaluate for a long. So I think it might be a next week trade, or potentially end of month trade, but we'll have to wait and see how it shapes up and how long it takes. EuroCAD is the next one. EuroCAD did have that somewhat of a near miss, but had the mini double bottom with the break, but it didn't quite commit and get there. So at this moment in time, I think, you know, it is aggressively moving up, and we didn't need to fill it completely, but it would have been somewhat a bit more better in my opinion if we could have, but we didn't. It is what it is. At this point in time, I'm not really going to opt in for any trades for the long, because of that simple little didn't fill there. I think we can just somewhat gravitate, come back lower, and then, you know, maybe just create something at somewhere around here. So I think I'm just going to be patient as well. I think there's more than enough I've got on watch. So for that reason, I'll probably even take this one off completely. But I'll leave it on for now, but I'll probably evaluate it by Wednesday, and then perhaps maybe, you know, I'm just going to be leaving it off completely and just not even watch it, because it just diverts my attention from everything else. And then Aussie Swiss. Aussie Swiss is one that I think needs further development. I think it's one that I'm very much happy to wait for. I just want to see price gravitate all the way back up here. Like I said, it can take some time for it to do that. It may not even gravitate up here. It might just drop off. That's very much possible. But at this moment in time, I'm more than happy to wait. I think this will be a phenomenal trading position. I think given how the structure is now, I don't think this is the structure. I think the pennant is more so what we'll be eyeing up, but I will be extra patient and see how this develops. I'll just tag this on over here. Yeah. And yeah, so essentially I had these 2 points for my alerts, which I don't need that alert anymore. And this one, I can essentially just tag it in there. Cool. So yeah, so essentially if I'm going to take a trade here, I'll wait for it to gravitate to this point, and then if we do extend, then I know that obviously we could be pushing for here. There's a potential trade in here. If we get that trade, I'll wait for the push down, and then probably just squeeze it in. Maybe 15 pips will be suitable. I could probably squeeze in 10 on Aussie Swiss, which is really nice. It just really depends on how price forms. But yeah, so I'll be patient with that. I have to wait. It's just, yeah, I think with a lot of these pairs, they're just not ready yet, but for sure, I think having GA on watch is going to be good. You know, right now we can actually see we're getting that commitment there, which is good. You know, we had the 1 hour up here. You know, this is live. This is a pretty good trade, to be honest. Would I have opted in this? Yeah, for sure I would have. I would have definitely opted in for this trade right here. I would have been tagged in pretty much right now. And then yeah, I'd probably be holding that to go down. So good trade, man, honestly. I think there's some really phenomenal trades out here at the moment. CAD is one that I'm really favoriting. So I think CAD I would opt in more so than this particular pair. and for that reason I probably would miss this trade regardless. But yeah, this is going to be a solid trade, guys, so keep an eye on this, and it'll be a nice one to watch and just see how it plays out. But I think for sure, from the pairs that we have already, you know, I think GA will be an exciting one for a lot of you guys if you haven't caught it yet. So yeah, wicked, cool, enjoy, have a good week, and I'll catch you in the next video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button, and if you have anything you'd like to ask me, drop a message in the comments below.